Okay, cool. So I woke up this morning and I saw Kanye was back on Instagram and posted this. It made me laugh. I thought the Kid Cudi comment was kind of hilarious, but it got me thinking just what has happened to Kanye West. Kanye is one of my favorite artists of all time. He has a massive back catalogue, 10 solo albums, multiple collaboration albums as well. I've had this ranking in my phone for like a couple of years from before Donda even came out. So this is literally a ranking of every Kanye song on a Kanye West solo album, barring joint projects or loose singles. And I've omitted interludes and skits as well. So in total, there is 134 songs. I'm going to try and not spend too much time on each song. The one starting this list right at rock bottom is Jesus is Lord from Jesus is King. It's one of the few songs from Kanye I genuinely hate and do not listen to. Next is Tell the Vision from Donda featuring Pop Smoke. Not even really a song. I'm still not sure why it's on Donda. God is next, again from Jesus is King. Not much to say on it. The one below that is one a lot of people have spoken about over the years. Is Barry Bonds from Graduation. Bring Me Down from Late Registration with Brandy. I've never liked this song. As a kid, when I first heard it, didn't like it. It's never grown on me. Then it's On God from Jesus is King again. One of the messiest Kanye West songs ever. And then after that is Never Let Me Down from The College Dropout. Up next is two songs I think are pretty similar, and that's Water from Jesus is King and Up from the Ashes from Donda. We Can Make It Better has always been one of my least favorite tracks on Late Registration, to be honest. Every Hour from Jesus is King is a weird one because while I do kind of enjoy it and I thought it showed a promising start to Jesus is King, it's just not a song like a lot of the songs on Jesus is King. It pains me to say it, but Breathe In, Breathe Out is this low on the list. I don't think it's aged particularly well. I'm not too big on Ludacris's feature, as much of a legend that he is. Then next is, in my opinion, the worst song from one of my favourite Kanye albums, See You in My Nightmares from 808s and Heartbreak. Next three are Hands On, Lord I Need You, and Keep My Spirit Alive. And then next is a Kanye song I think gets way too much hate, and that's Drunken Hot Girls. Now, I don't think this is, clearly not one of Kanye's best ever songs or anything like that, but I really, really enjoy the hook. I enjoy the instrumental, the slow electronic vibe he has going on. And you get the playful gibberish Kanye in the middle with the I always love when Kanye does that shit. Next up is Get 'Em High from The College Dropout. It's a song where I think the beat really carries it. Not to say that the verses are weak or anything, but the beat is just so ridiculously good. The next three are Use This Gospel from Jesus is King, The Glory, not one of my favorites, from Graduation, and Celebration from Late Registration. Robocop is an interesting one because, again, 808 is one of my favorite Kanye albums. I love the electronic shit. I love just how overtly, almost like cheesy pop the hook is. Whilst it is one of my favorite Kanye albums, this is one of the messier cuts on there. Facts is next, Charlie Heat version. I'm one of the people that prefers the original version. I can't fucking find it anywhere. This version does go hard, but I do prefer like the cold, creepy aesthetic of the original. Up next is another two songs from Jesus King, Closed on Sunday, You My Chick-fil-A, and Seller. Next is I Thought About Killing You from Ye, which I thought was I really enjoy Ye. I Thought About Killing You is, half spoken word, half laid back rap. Again, I do prefer the original before they had the, copyright sample clearance issue. The New Workout Plan is next. It's one of Kanye's more overtly comedic songs. His bar about your breath being harsh and you're gonna give a nigga SARS is one of my favorite Kanye bars. Next up is one that's been trending on TikTok for some reason over the last year. Damn. That's Everything I Am from Graduation with DJ Premier. Particularly the way he manipulates the word Adidas into Adidos to make it fit the rhyme scheme is just like pure Kanye. Next to are Coldest Winter from 808 and Okay Okay with Yachty from Donda. Next is one I'm so conflicted on, and that's Junior. I'm a giant Playboi Carti fan. It has a Playboi Carti feature on it, which I love, but a bit like another song from Donda, which we'll get to later down the list, it just doesn't have enough Playboi Carti. Next two are Family Business and Everything We Need from Jesus is King. Everything We Need particularly is one of those songs that's so fucking frustrating to me because hearing all the leaks from Yandy, this was a full fleshed out song. Of course it had the X feature, which didn't quite fit, but this is like a minute and a half and it sounds like a reference track that the leak was made from. It's like it's done in reverse. The next two I think might be some of the more controversial ones considering how low down they are. The first one is Amazing from 808, one of the biggest singles from 808. It might just be personal bias, but I've never really been a fan of Jeezy's voice. I'm not really a fan of Jeezy in general, to be honest. I love the tribal shit that's all over this album, particularly on Amazing as well, but the Jeezy feature kind of ruins it for me. And then next is one of Kanye's biggest songs ever, and that's Gold Digger. I'm sorry I had to put it this low. There must be an aspect of it being overplayed to death. Not that really has an effect on my enjoyment of Kanye songs. There might be an element of that, but also I don't think it's aged too well. And I don't think it's like one of the best examples of Kanye's, writing or storytelling or even beat production on Late Registration. However, it is catchy as shit. It is iconic. It's one of the biggest rap songs from the 2000s. So I understand its cultural significance. Next few are Bad News from 808s and Highlights from Life of Pablo, which again, it's a Kanye and Young Thug. It should be higher than this. It would have been lower if Kanye didn't drop the bar about his dick having a GoPro and wishing that he could GoPro. That's genius. The next three are all from Donda, and that's 24, God Breathed, and Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell particularly grew on me a lot over the past year or so. Wolves is next. It would have been higher if it was the original version that had Frank's tracks slapped on at the end, but alas it doesn't, so it has to be lower down. I'm really big on voices, the sound and the texture of a singer's voice, and Sia on this song doesn't do that much for me. Violent Crimes, the closing track from Ye, super personal, but it would have been higher up if I didn't find out that Kanye basically didn't write this song, which I'm fine with, if everything's credited and stuff, because, so much of Kanye's thing is about, the production and the performance, but because the song is so personal and so sentimental, it kind of takes something away for me. Next three, we have Fade, Wouldn't Leave, and Yikes. Diamonds from Sierra Leone, one of the greatest examples of Kanye's sampling ability, in my opinion. Homecoming, whilst I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Martin, I think the storytelling, the narrative, and the wordplay in this song makes it up for me. Part 2 from Pablo, effectively Panda remix, but I still think it's better than Panda. Crack Music with The Game, the sample, how fat the beat is, Kanye's just spitting. I love this song. What, in my opinion, the most underrated song from the life of Pablo is Freestyle 4. It's so demonic and otherworldly and chaotic, which is what so much of Pablo is. Pure Souls from Donda, one that really grew on me again. I love Roddy's feature. I love how many different moments of like catharsis and euphoria are in the song. School Spirit, just for the opening. Alpha Step, Omega Step. Drive Slow, which is a fan favorite from Late Registration. Easy to see why. Bars, storytelling, sampling is there. Next is the first song I have from Dark Fantasy. My least favorite from Dark Fantasy, but Dark Fantasy is still an amazing album. Hell of a Life. Next is Never Abandon Your Family, which was one of the deluxe songs from Donda. I really think this could go toe-to-toe with most of the songs from the original version of Donda. And next is So Appalled. And this would have been higher, but I feel, and it sounds like sacrilege because he's a legend, but I'm not too big on RZA's contribution to this song. But what I will say is that Jay-Z on this makes up for his feature on Monster, because his verse on here might be my favorite. Next, we have 4 songs in a row from Donda. I think Donda's pretty consistent. No Child Left Behind, New Again, Praise God with Baby Keem, and Moon. Then we have Champion from Graduation. Sampling is ridiculous. It's kind of like, it feels like the sample's like broken and it's trying to start again. But this is pure like egotistical arrogance, overinflated confidence Kanye that we all know. Next is Remote Control, or Next is Blame Game, which I'm really biased to because of the amazing Aphex Twin sample. Aphex Twin is one of the best electronic music producers of all time, and I say sample, but that's a bit of a misnomer because they just replayed the original piece on piano. No Mistakes is next. One of the more underrated Kanye songs, in my opinion. This felt like Kanye responding to the idea of there being an old or new Kanye, with the classic sampling style, the Charlie Wilson feature. It's like him saying, I can still do this old style shit if you really want me to. It's just not what I'm on right now. One of the most feel-good songs Kanye's ever written, Good Life with T-Pain. Then we have Paranoid with Mr. Hudson. I love the super fast-paced 80s synth pop shit. Then we have Send It Up. Now, Yeezus is my favorite Kanye album. This is my least favorite song on Yeezus, but I still love just how cold, metallic, larger than life the beat and Kanye's lyrics are. He opens his verse by saying, this is the greatest shit in the club since In the Club. That is the most Kanye lyric I think I've ever heard. Then we have Waves, and whilst I'm not a fan of Chris Brown in the slightest, I thought what he did on here was cool. But this song is mainly for the beat, to be honest. I love the beat. Then we have maybe like Kanye's most ambitious song ever, and that's All of the Lights, with all the crazy vocalists he assembled. Just from the top of my head, he had Rihanna, Kid Cudi, Elton John, Alicia Keys, Ellie Jackson, John Legend, and that's just like half of the features or vocal performances. Then, easily the best song on Jesus is King. I think it's maybe the least controversial take about Jesus is King, and that's Follow God. Guilt Trip, in my opinion, has one of the best examples of Kanye's unique ear for sampling, with the dancehall interpolation in the middle of the song. 30 Hours, biggest Catfish song ever. I still love it, but when it first came out, it's like, oh my god, Kanye and Andre 3000, oh my god. And Andre comes and sings 2 words. Kanye's done this thing many times where he will take a sample, a vocal sample, and make it sound like it's saying something else. So the sample, it sounds like it's saying 30 hours, but I believe he's saying where the hours go or where the something goes. And he's done it on songs like Late as well. Then we have Jail. I love this song. Again, this song really grew on me. It wasn't one of my favorites when I first heard it, but I love. It's so grand. And, whilst his antics post-divorce have been very questionable, morally and ethically and stuff, how he approaches it and how he explores his mindset in real time in this song about his divorce, I think is quite intriguing. Next is All Mine from Ye, with some of the most hilarious Kanye bars ever written. Particularly his first verse, like as funny as it is, the metaphors and double entendres and punchlines he packs into this song are crazy. He says, if I pull up with Kerry Washington, that might be an enormous scandal. I could have Naomi Campbell and still might want me a Stormy Daniels. Sometimes you gotta bag the boss up. I call that ticker Corey Gambles. That's crazy. And of course he says, I love your titties because they prove I can focus on 2 things at once. That is poetry. Next, one of Kanye's biggest ever songs, Heartless from 808s and Heartbreak. It's heartless. It's a classic. There's not much more to say about it. Then we've Lost in the World, one of Kanye's most heartfelt tracks. And I feel this song is like an extension of 808s, especially with all the tribal drum stuff. But what distinguishes it is that this is, a much more open and positive embrace of love and romance than anything on 808s. Then we have Famous, one of the most controversial Kanye songs ever, for the bars about Taylor Swift and stuff. But the Swiss Beats beat, the Rihanna feature, the Bam Bam sample at the end, it's all amazing. I'm In It from Yeezus, one of Kanye's most sexually explicit songs ever. It's super, super hypersexualized and extremely satirical, but it's just disgusting in the best possible way, and the Assassin feature goes crazy. The next 3 songs are all from Pablo as well, and that's Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, one of the most iconic beat drops of all time, Ultralight Beam, amazing way to open up an album, even for someone who's very, very not religious. I feel some sense of divinity listening to this song. And then Feedback. The beat is so grimy and distorted and disgusting. I'm very biased towards that version of Kanye. Then we have the song that introduced the world to Lupe Fiasco, and that's Touch the Sky. Every time I think of Touch the Sky now, I just think of Kanye just sprinting at like 100 miles an hour on stage performing it.
Take 'em back to the club. Think about it, how I stand online. Wanted to dance, I went to take a bath. Check out my advance, I just wanted to shine.
FML is effectively 2 songs in one with a jarring beat switch in the middle. I love how open and simple and heartfelt the opening is, especially the I'm from a tribe called Checker Ho. But the reason this song is so high up for me is the beat switch, and is the outro, the post-punk sample, really creepy, eerie, dissonant vibe he has going on. I love that. In my opinion, one of the best lyrical displays from College Dropout, and that's 2 words with Mos Def and Freeway. If you've seen the Genius documentary, you can see Mos Def and Kanye spitting it together a cappella, and it's amazing. And I love the motif as well, the 2 words, 2 syllables throughout basically the entire song. I think it's genius. Then we have Saint Pablo, Sampha, Cheat Code feature. If you think of the songs he's done with Drake, with Kendrick recently as well, with Kanye, every time he's on a feature, he kills it. Then maybe the most widely beloved song from Ye, that's Ghost Town with Kid Cudi and Party Next Door and 070 Shake. Welcome to Heartbreak, lyrically, is such a simple song. And the autotune on his voice perfectly reflects how cold and distant and removed from life Kanye sounds on this song. Next is Hurricane, a song that I'd been waiting for like 3 years, since the original 80 Degrees or leaked or previewed. Whilst I find it's very interesting what they did from that initial idea into becoming this grand epic thing featuring Lil Baby in The Weeknd, I do still have a really big soft spot for the original 80 Degrees. Then it's Roses, one of a number of really heartfelt, sad, emotional songs from Late Registration. But even during Kanye's most vulnerable and emotional moments, he always finds the humor in it, with the bar about, I have so many aunties, we could make an auntie team. Then After Roses is another really sad song, and that's Jonah from Donda. Vori's feature, amazing. I think he kind of catfished me because I listened to his album and I was really hyped for it just from this feature, and I didn't like it at all. But that doesn't take away from how really heartfelt his contribution is, and Lil Durk and Kanye's as well. Then we have Jesus Lord, the longest song from Donda, the longest song Kanye's made maybe since Runaway. I love the J Electronica feature. I think fits perfectly, but it's Kanye's. Again, the lyrics are super simple, and he cuts straight through the bullshit and gets directly to the point. And I think it's such an emotional moment on Donda. Through the Wire. It's Through the Wire. It's Through the Wire. I don't need to explain it. It's Through the Wire. And we have another two from the College Dropout. That's Jesus Walks. Again, like Jesus Lord. This is, for me, this is a perfect way to make, quote unquote Christian rap that's accessible to people who are outside the Christian faith. Because there are themes in there that pertain particularly to Christians, but also there are some universal themes in there as well. Then we have Slow Jams. This was like my favorite song in the world when I was like 7 years old. And I think it's aged amazingly because I loved it when I was 7 and I love it 18, 19 years later. Then Addiction. So underrated. No one talks about this song when they speak about Late Registration. Addiction, conceptually amazing. The beat, oh my fucking God. Next up, we have a really interesting song, Spaceship, from the College Dropout, a rap song in 6/8 time. This was back, when Kanye was on his, anti-capitalist, revolutionary bullshit. Well, not bullshit because it's facts, but he's saying, if my manager insults me again, I will be assaulting him. Heard him say is one of the biggest accomplishments in Kanye's career for the simple fact that he made me tolerate Adam Levine. Adam Levine goes in on this song. Then we have Power, one of the most iconic Kanye songs I think ever made. It's so over the top and grand and maximalist. Fuck SNL and the whole cast. Again, it's like he was predicting the future with now 10, 12 years later with all the Kanye, Pete Davidson thing, which I think is, very pathetic. The flip side of this, Life of the Party with Andre 3000. Andre 3000 for me, one of the greatest rappers to ever do it. So, having him and Kanye together already is, for me, a match made in heaven. But what Andre 3000 does, this song is on here mainly for Andre 3000. I love what Kanye does as well. It's super heartfelt. But Andre on this song, I've heard him rap about, death and losing his parents before. He had a song called To Bury Your Parents, which, makes me want to cry every time I hear it. And this feels like an extension of that. Conceptually, so focused as well. Andre just never loses it. He never loses it. Speaking of dream matchups, this, you sit around and you're like, oh, what if so-and-so made a song with so-and-so? No More Parties in LA was that song for me. It's Kanye, one of my favorite artists of all time. Kendrick, literally my favorite rapper of all time. Madlib, one of the best hip-hop producers of all time, on the same song. It literally cannot fail. It can't fail, and it didn't. Next, we have maybe the biggest Kanye West song of all time, Stronger. It's Stronger. Everyone loves this song. Everyone. Then it's We Major. We Major to me is so amazing. To make a 7-minute rap song this engaging for that length of time is an achievement in of itself. Next two are from Graduation. That's Good Morning. One of my favorite opening Kanye West songs to an album ever. And then I Wonder. The sample, amazing sample. Next two from Dark Fantasy. Opening track, Dark Fantasy, with the iconic Nicki Minaj opening. Can we get much higher? I think that's Tiana Taylor. Again, amazing way to open up the album, sets the mood perfectly. And then we have Gorgeous, which contains, maybe one of Kanye West's best ever verses, the opening verse, Come to Life from Donda. Now, when I first heard this song, I wasn't too big on it. It wasn't even one of my favorite songs from Donda. But now, with multiple listens and a year for it to marinate, this feels so it's such a cathartic song, maybe the most cathartic song Kanye's ever made. It's just a couple bars specifically, and it does make me shed tears at times, where he says, I don't want to die alone, I don't want to die alone. I get mad when she's gone, mad when she's home, sad when she's gone, mad when she's home. And it's just this thing where he feels like he can't win. Then it's Gone. Everyone on Gone kills it. The one thing that makes this song for me is Kanye somehow managed to rhyme the word children with burn. It's one of Kanye's defining features that, he will manipulate words to make them fit, and he doesn't care how, but it's always hilarious. Believe What I Say, which is a bit of a catfish song in my opinion, because when I first heard it, I thought it was super upbeat, euphoric, really happy, one of the happiest Kanye West songs I thought I'd heard in a long while. And then I listened to the lyrics deeper again and I was like, shit, no, this is depressing as fuck. And I love songs that have that contrast, that make you feel these two competing emotions at the same time. The Lauryn Hill sample, of course, is amazing as well. Can't Tell Me Nothing is a song that will give you superpowers of confidence. Black Skinhead is still in rotation on fucking adverts all over the country, particularly over here in this country. I don't know how many people watching this will be in the UK or in America, but we have something called Sky Sports, and for their promo, they've been using this song for like 10 years. But it's easy to see why, because it's just, it's super aggressive. It fills you full of energy every time you hear it. Then it's Big Brother, Kanye's ode to Jay-Z. I think this song is kind of ahead of its time and an example of Kanye, not conforming to the macho bullshit that really dominated hip-hop, in the 2000s, where he's openly just expressing his love and admiration for his mentor. Then we have I Am a God, Hurry Up on My Damn Croissant. Then it's Say You Will. And Say You Will to me is maybe like the prototype for Runaway. It has that extended instrumental outro as well. It's super confessional, so depressing. I love the heartbeat, the beep, beep, and the left and right channels alternating. Hold My Liquor is next. Kanye brought together Chief Keef and Bon Iver on the same song. That's all I have to say. Then we have Monster. Monster would have been higher if it wasn't for Jay-Z's stupid fucking verse, but Nicki has downright the best feature on this song. Next is New Slaves. Perfect example of Kanye mashing together elements that on paper don't make sense together. You have Kanye West, Frank Ocean singing over a 1970s, 1980s Hungarian rock sample. We Don't Care has some similar themes to New Slave, but with a more light-hearted but satirical approach. We Don't Care for me has always felt like one of Kanye's most underappreciated songs. Love Lockdown. I've placed it higher than Heartless. I don't care. I think Love Lockdown for me expands on every element of Heartless in an amazing way. Then in my opinion, the very most underrated Kanye West song of all time is Late from Late Registration. The song is not that deep. It's about Kanye being late and that's it. Then it's Runaway, one of Kanye's most beloved songs. Easy to see why. I hate the word, but it's epic. I don't know how you make 3 minutes of mumbled vocoder shit work and make you want to shed tears, but that's what it does. Hey Mama is an interesting one because, of course, when you listen to it with the context of his mother passing away, it becomes super sad. And I think that kind of adds to its lore, but I think every time I listen to it, I get the full emotion from both extremes. And, people always say, give the people that you love their flowers while they're here. And, Kanye clearly stuck to that by making this song. Now, this one. No one seems to agree with me about this one. And I've seen people do similar lists, and this is always near the bottom. I don't understand why. Pinocchio Story, live from Singapore. For me, Pinocchio Story is like an amazing examination of Kanye's position as a performer, as an artist, as someone who's so far removed from the real world. And the way he discusses the support he had from his mother in his career and how that's been taken away from him now, and now he feels just hollow and empty. This is such a sad song. And the fact that it's a live recording, you can hear the shouting and screaming in the audience while Kanye pours his heart out, I think proves his point and drives his point home harder. Bound to. When you first listen to Yeezus, can be quite jarring because it's like everything has been so cold and harsh and abrasive, and then you have 2004 Kanye jumping back. When people talk about, I miss the old Kanye, Bound 2 has every aspect of that and more. It has that old Kanye with a fresh new perspective. Next is my favorite song from the life of Pablo. It's been my favorite song from the life of Pablo since the day I first heard the album, and that's Real Friends with Ty Dolla $ign. Real Friends to me is like Welcome to Heartbreak Part 2. Ty Dolla $ign's feature, this is my favorite. Ty Dolla $ign is known for his features. He literally named his album featuring Ty Dolla $ign. This is my favorite ever Ty Dolla $ign feature. Speaking of favorite songs from albums, my favorite song from Donda, it's Off the Grid. I'm sorry, it is off the grid. This song to me is so perfect that, you have certain songs and they just make you feel some type of emotion. Like, I could, listen to I just sit in bed, I might listen to Frank Ocean's Self Control or something, and you might shed a tear, but it makes sense because of the song that you're listening to. I cried on the tube listening to Off the Grid just because of how perfect the song is. I heard Playboy Carti say homicide, homicide, and no word of a lie, it made me cry. I don't know how to describe what it does to me. And Kanye on the end, Kanye on a drill beat, man. I didn't think this song would be this high up. I didn't think a song from Donda would be this high up, but Off the Grid, I can't lie to myself. I fucking love this song. The next song is the opening track from my favorite Kanye West album, On Site. The reason it's this high is one, it's like a statement of intent for the album. It's a manifesto for how this album is going to sound and feel and the concept of it. If this album is Kanye deconstructing his own image and his own previous narrative, then what better way to do it than to have something so challenging and abrasive for Kanye listeners. Last Call, the last song, the longest song on The College Dropout. I still listen to the entire 8-minute story at the end every time I listen to this song. I love Jay-Z opening it up with him laughing and calling Kanye a motherfucker. I love the underdog story that Kanye portrays in this song. When I saw Genius, especially the first two parts, I think a better title for it would have been Last Call, the documentary. Because the story he tells in Last Call, if you want a summarization of what Genius, the documentary, is about, just listen to the last 8 minutes of Last Call. Flashing Lights from Graduation. It's it's an easy pick to say the best song from Graduation, but it just is. It's super glossy. It's just such an accomplished song. Everything, how catchy the hook is, Kanye's bars, the super smooth neon instrumental. When people say that Kanye lives in the future, this is the kind of song that people are talking. This song in my head is at least 10 years ahead of its time. My favorite song from 808s and Heartbreak, Streetlights. One of the most underrated Kanye West songs in my opinion. Also one of his saddest. All it is to me is about it's maybe one of the Kanye songs that's the most devoid of hope and almost bordering on nihilist in some way. Of course, this album came out after the death of his mother, after the breakdown of his relationship as well, so you would expect it to have some kind of depressing theme. But this song just about how repetitive life is and almost meaningless our day-to-day cycles and routines are. And him saying, I know my destination, I'm just not there. It's kind of like this futile effort where, he's always chasing something, but he never seems to be satisfied with what he's chasing. And that, that might be, part of the reason why Kanye is such an amazing artist, but also why he may never feel satisfied, because, he's always chasing something. He's always, whether it's in music or art or fashion, there's always something for him to chase, but at the same time, there's this feeling that he's never satisfied. And it's really, really bittersweet. Top three. All Falls Down. All Falls Down is one of those songs that has been with me since some of my earliest memories. This song came out when I was 7. And I remember seeing the video. I remember seeing trying to wash mustard out of his shirt. And I'm like, this video is so cool. What the fuck, blah, 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 blah. But, there was something about the way it sounded. Of course, I wasn't old enough to understand, the gravity of what he was saying. And all the satire and stuff, but it just sounded amazing to me. So I've loved this song from when I was a child to when I was a teenager, all the way through school, and now as an adult, I still love it just as much. I think it's aged amazingly. This is one of those songs where people point to oh my god, do you remember how Kanye used to speak out against capitalism and exploitation and materialism, and now he's doing all this shit for Balenciaga, blah blah blah. When people talk about, oh, I miss the old Kanye, I think this is the version of Kanye that they're talking about. In my head, there's no such thing as the new or old Kanye. I think Kanye's core has always been relatively similar. But besides that, this song, it does so much. Again, it's super satirical. The bars are witty, hilarious, funny, but they pack a punch as well. Second, and it was number one for a long while. The second is Devil in a New Dress from Dark Fantasy. One of the most popular picks to have. But it's just true. It's just true. I'm sorry. Rick Ross has, in my opinion, the best featured verse on any Kanye song ever. Maybe on any fucking rap song ever. The beat, I don't know how Kanye West didn't produce this beat, but this beat, don't be fooled. It sounds like Kanye, but it's not produced by Kanye. It's produced by Bink. Smokey Robinson sample is amazing. Mike Dean's freaking jazzy, acid jazz, psychedelic rock breakdown in the middle is ridiculous. Kanye's self-awareness and tales of excess and materialism, but also self-critique, amazingly written. And Rick Ross's feature fits this, luxury, exuberant aesthetic that they have for the song. Well, not even aesthetic, concept for the song. I think one of my favorite Kanye West lyrics ever on this song is, And out of all the colors that fill up the skies, you got green on your mind. I can see it in your eyes. He takes these giant concepts, envy, materialism, consumerism, and just puts it in this tiny, neat little bow. That's why when people say, you know, Kanye is a master at producing finished products with watertight track lists and stuff like that, it's that kind of skill where you take these grand ideas and you break them down to their core building blocks in a engaging and witty way. On top of the list is Blood on the Leaves. It's Blood on the Leaves. This song is not this to me. This song feels like it came from 2040 because I don't know how you think to mesh this sound, these overblown, massive sounding trumpets, a C Murder interpolation, and Nina Simone, and you rapping about materialism and drugs and freaking having MDMA in the lobby and apartheid and abortion and cocaine addiction, like just all of these ills that come up, you know, as a byproduct of consumerism and celebrity culture. And the lyric where he says, you got a $2,000 bag but no cash in your purse, I think is amazing for a number of reasons. Even though the person he's describing in this verse seems to be a woman, that's something that can apply to everyone that lives in a westernized first world developed country. This idea of chasing these things that have no inherent value to them, it's just the value we ascribe to them. So, you know, you look at me and I have these Balenciaga shoes, or I have I have a Rolly on my wrist, or I've got a Gucci jumper or whatever it is. Like, you're only doing these things to impress other people. And this lyric always reminded me of an Outkast lyric where on Aquemini, Big Boy says, don't get no wood grain steering wheel if you don't have enough to pay your fucking beeper bill. I feel like Kanye heard that and was like, how can I take that sentiment and apply it to the 21st century? Because, you know, now no one's buying beepers, so what people buying? They're buying Birkins and they're buying, you know, Gucci bags and purses and shit. But in terms of the rest of the song, the Nina Simone sample is haunting, as you can imagine, and just how it's it's weird because it's like I understand why people might take some issue with using this sample in this context, because, you know, it's Nina Simone's rendition of Blood on the Leaves is fucking haunting, and, you know, it's from it describes an era in American history that is disgusting and still has ramifications today, and applying that to this song about consumerism and wealth and celebrity culture is like, does this make sense? I think it fits the narrative of Yeezus as well. You know, in my head, Yeezus does have a very clear narrative. This Yeezus character is someone who thinks that he can save the world and be a revolutionary with songs like Black Skinhead and New Slaves, and he fails at it, and then he starts using people like MLK and, you know, civil rights movement imagery to describe like sex, like in I'm In It, and this is the very next song. So I think it makes sense in the narrative of the album, but to understand why he uses that sample, I think it's important to place it in the context of Yeezus. Ridiculous. One of my favorite songs ever made. It's a perfect song. But yeah, that is my ranking of every Kanye song ever made on his albums. Let me know in the comments down below, what's your